I invite Mr. Sheen to deliver the commencement address.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Father Michael. And I hope you'll understand why I did not wear the motorboard. Not only does it muss up my hair, but my IQ drops 20 points whenever I put on a hat. So I didn't think this would be an appropriate place to wear one. Congratulations to the class of 2019, and peace be with you. The Irish tell the story of a man who arrives at the gates of heaven and asks to be let in. St. Peter says, "Of course, just show us your scars." The man says, "I have no scars." St. Peter says, "What a pity. Was there nothing worth fighting for?" We are called to find something in our lives worth fighting for, something that can unite the will of the Spirit with the work of the flesh, something that can help lift up this nation and all its people to that place where the heart is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depths of truth and tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sands of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action into that heaven of freedom, my Father. Let our country awake. Some of you may have recognized that poem from Rabindranath Tagore, the Indian poet laureate. I learned that poem while I was in India doing a small part in Gandhi. Some of you may remember that film. It was very successful everywhere, but nowhere was it more successful than in my community in Hollywood. Go figure, but it's true. Everyone in Hollywood loved Gandhi. Everyone in Hollywood wanted to be just like Gandhi, thin, tan, and moral. I'm so honored to share this special moment with you, although last night my ego took a terrible, terrible blow as I was checking in at the hotel up in San Jose. Two young girls came running up to me all excited. Oh, they said, "Sir, we love you so much. You are our favorite person in all the world. Please, 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 could we have your autograph?" Of course I said, and I signed for both of them. As they walked away, I overheard one say to the other, "I can't make out his handwriting. Who did you say he was?" It's not easy being Sheen. Now, I want to take a moment now to draw your attention to a serious labor issue here at SCU, which is the subject of these flyers distributed this morning. Okay, I am a guest here, of course, not a mediator, and while I confess I do not know the entire history of what's at issue here, but I do know what's at stake. I have been an active union member literally all my adult life, and I stand in solidarity with the adjunct faculty and lecturers. And I support their efforts to form a union. Further, I urge the administration to please allow them to vote. The students and faculty supporting the union will be outside the ceremony afterwards if you would like to support their efforts as well. Thank you so much. Now, to my charge. Thank you. There was a theatrical agent who came into his office every morning and asked his secretary the same question year after year. Who killed Lincoln? And the secretary would respond with the same answer year after year, day after day, an actor. And the agent said, "Don't ever let me forget that." I've been an actor all of my life. In fact, I have no conscious memory of ever not being an actor. But while acting is what I do for a living, activism is what I do to stay alive. Of course, if you grow up in a very large, poor immigrant family, chances are you're either Irish Catholic or Hispanic. And I was lucky enough to be both. So I had a head start when it comes to social justice activism. Both of my parents were immigrants. My father was Francisco Estevez, born July 2nd, 1898, near Vigo, Spain, in northern Spain. My mother was Mary Ann Phelan, born May 22nd, 1903, in Bordeaux-County, County Tipperary, the center of the Irish Republic. They met and fell in love in Dayton, Ohio, and they were married in 1927. They had 12 pregnancies, 10 survived, 9 boys, 1 girl. I was their 7th son, and my real name is Ramon, which I have never officially changed, and I hope that that's the name on the certificate that I just received. If it's not, I can change it. Other than my mother's sudden death in 1951, I lived a pretty normal life growing up in the Midwest in the 1950s. I played sports, I loved girls, rock and roll, and James Dean, and I dreamed of becoming an actor just like him. I left home in 1959 to pursue that dream in New York City, where my adult life was shaped in large part by the people and the events of that remarkable and turbulent decade in the middle of the last century, where it seemed the bullet had replaced the ballot as the preferred method of change. We struggled to end the war and ban the bomb, and we marched for civil rights. John and Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X had a profound and lasting effect on all of us. And despite their horrible assassinations, we struggled through the 60s clinging to the absolute certainty that lost causes are the only causes worth fighting for, and that nonviolence is the only weapon to fight with. We accepted that cup as offered, not altered, because we shared a common vision and a deep thirst for that mysterious nurturement called grace that soared up and flowed out of all those times and places wherever noble men and women gathered for social justice and human rights, men like Dan Berrigan and women like Dorothy Day, who gathered to engage in heroic acts of nonviolent resistance that took our breath away and renewed the face of the earth. Each time someone stands up for an ideal, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, they send forth a tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and injustice. Those words were spoken at the University of Cape Town, South Africa in 1966 by Robert Francis Kennedy. And they have been a powerful source of inspiration for my generation ever since. The more the world changes, the more it remains the same, I believe, because the most important needs of every human being on earth are not only food, clothing, and shelter, but equally the need for justice, healing, and mercy. Without the latter, the former are useless. It is the gross inequality of food, clothing, and shelter that divides us, of course, but it is the absolute necessity for justice, healing, and mercy that unites us. Surely, if we are all made in the image and likeness of God, then each and every one of us is a self-portrait of the Creator. Which brings me to the story of the high school teacher who asked her freshman class to draw anything they want one day. She said, just let your imagination run with wild. And so they did. And by, the teacher went around the class to see what they'd chosen to draw. And she stopped at this one young girl's desk and she said, excuse me, love, what are you drawing? And the girl said, I'm drawing a picture of God. And the teacher said, oh, sweetheart, I'm sorry, but you know, no one knows what God looks like. And the young girl said, they will in a minute. All things being equal, I don't believe anyone can ever teach us any fundamental moral truth that we don't already know instinctively. But the challenge lies in accepting the responsibility for that knowingness. So whether we choose to acknowledge it or not, we are all responsible for each other and the world, which is exactly the way it is, because consciously or unconsciously, we have made it so. And while none of us made any of the rules that govern the universe, we do make all the rules that govern our own hearts and minds. And we are all beneficiaries of the millions and millions of heroic strangers that have gone before us over the centuries from every corner of the earth, and who assure us that the world is still a wonderful and safe place despite our fears. And we're not asked to do great things. We are asked to take greater care of the environment and the very least among us. Such an ideal is rare in a culture of so many compromised values and so much cynicism, a culture that all too often knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. And yet, there remains a very real and mysterious yearning deep within each and every human heart that compels us to reach outside of ourselves and serve others for our own sake. This yearning is a manifestation of our true selves. And though it will always bring rejection from the crowd, it will always equally bring satisfaction to our hearts. And it will always be costly. If this were not so, of course, we would be left to question its value. Over the entire history of the human race, every truth began as blasphemy, and no one has ever made a contribution of any real worth without self-sacrifice, personal suffering, and sometimes even death. So, now what? Or, as Jet Bartlett used to say on the West Wing, what's next? Well, I wish I knew, friends, but if the past is prologue, I'm afraid the road ahead is a dead end. Unless, of course, you decide to rebuild that road to your own specifications and trust your own instincts. And remember, the only things you can carry with you on your journey are the things which you cherish and are willing to give away with love, including your precious time and talent. And remember this above all, you'll know that you're on the right track if you see this sign. Caution, one heart with courage is a majority. I began my remarks with a poem by Tagore to honor our nation, and I would like to conclude with a poem by Emma Lazarus that honors our nation's immigrants, which, as I mentioned, includes both of my parents. America is the oldest country in the world because it was the first to enter the 20th century. And the foundation of America's incredible success was built and maintained by the millions and millions of immigrants who poured in from every corner of the world when America held its doors open wider and kept them open longer than any other nation on earth. 21st century immigration is a deeply complex issue, and it's worthy of an honest, informed, and compassionate debate, not biased rhetoric or blame or reckless blame. And my prayer is that the moral compass of that debate will be governed by the command of the prophet Isaiah to welcome and protect the alien among us, ever mindful that we too were once strangers in a strange land. And from time to time, I think we Americans need a gentle reminder that the most powerful image we project to the world is still that lady in New York Harbor. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here, at our sea-washed, sea-sunk gates, stands a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name is Mother of Exiles. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame, and from her beacon hand glows a worldwide welcome. Keep, O ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuge of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp and my heart beside the golden door. Thank you so much.